Here's the Klymit Double V sleeping pad. This is the blue uninsulated version and we'll be testing its comfort, ease of use, portability, and more. I bought this from Amazon at a really good price and got the sleeping pad inside a stuff sack, some instructions, and also a patch kit. I put affiliate links below if you want to check it out. The Klymit Double V uninsulated sleeping pad gets me about 2.5 inches off the ground. When inflated fully to firmness, my body does not touch the ground whether I'm sleeping on my back, stomach, or side. But no matter how firm it was, I could always feel the ground when leaning on my elbow, knees, or even just sitting down. When tossing and turning in bed, I could also sometimes feel the ground. The Klymit uninsulated Double V measures about 74 by 46 inches, which is nothing close to a queen or even a full size in width, and it's basically just slightly wider than the size of 2 regular sleeping pads put together. Not the most spacious for sure, but I found it decently comfortable for 2 people in terms of space. The Double V has lots of V-shaped air chambers across the entire sleeping pad, which give my body quite a lot of support and contour to my body. But if you're used to sleeping on completely flat and cushy self-inflating foam mattresses like I am, this sleeping surface might take some getting used to because it's not as smooth and not as comfortable. But when I got used to it after a few days, it felt decently comfortable. The side rails of the Double V doesn't prevent you from rolling off the pad, but it does have better edge support than many of the other higher profile 2-person air mattresses that I have. The V-shaped air chambers on the left and right are not completely separate from each other, but it definitely helps to reduce movement of air during the night when there's another person sharing the pad, making bouncing pretty minimal. The surface fabric is a little louder compared to the other 2-person air and self-inflating mattresses that I have, but at least it doesn't sound like a bag of chips. The Klymit Double V uninsulated sleeping pad has 2 valves along the head of the pad, one at each end. Both are flushed with the surface and labeled. One says inflate and the other deflate. To inflate the uninsulated Double V, pull off the flap to the inflate valve, which is a one-way valve that only lets air in, and attach the bottom of the stuff sack to the valve. You will hear a pop when it pops into place, it'll be secure, and now your stuff sack becomes a pump. If there's no airflow at all, I find it sticking my entire arm into the stuff sack and moving it up and down a couple times to even out the wrinkles and get it as cylindrical as possible somehow fills it up with air. It's quite amazing. If there's moving air or wind, just face the opening of the stuff sack against the wind and it'll fill up with air. If you can't seem to get a full bag, try sticking your entire arm into the stuff sack to even out the wrinkles as well. Then I fold the top down 2 or 3 times to get a full bag of air and use my free hand to press down on the stuff sack to push the air into the Double V. If there's no airflow, the bags of air tend to be slightly smaller and it takes around 17 bags of air to fill the uninsulated Double V. This takes around 2 minutes and 15 seconds. If there's moving air or wind, the bags of air tend to be slightly bigger, and it takes me around 14 bags of air to fill it up, which is around 1 minute and 45 seconds. Once the Double V uninsulated is fully inflated and no more air can be pushed in, just pull the stuff sack off and put the flap back on to close the valve. If you find it too firm, just open the inflate valve again and press on the built-in flap gently, which lets a bit of air out. To deflate the uninsulated Double V, pull off the flaps to both the deflate valve, which is a simple 2-way opening, and the inflate valve. Then fold the Double V in half, lengthwise, 2 times, and roll it up starting from the side without the valves. Roll it as tightly as possible to get as much air out as you can. If you find some air trapped in the Double V in the last few rolls, just make sure that both the deflate and inflate valves are not blocked by gently pressing on them. This usually takes me about 1 minute. Folding it up properly will take another 2 minutes and 15 seconds or so, and I'll show you how to do that later. The uninsulated Double V comes with this blue stuff sack, which has a roll top. The opening is pretty small, so if your Double V isn't deflated enough, it won't fit back in nicely. But I do like the roll top, so I can roll it and compact it down as much as I need to. And the buckle at the top also acts as a handle for easy carry. After deflating, the Klymit Double V uninsulated sleeping pad has a packed size of about 11 by 7 by 5 inches. It might be a bit bigger if you don't push out as much air though. Here's what it looks like back in the stuff sack and beside a 32-ounce Nalgene bottle. To pack up the uninsulated Double V, just fold it in half lengthwise 1, 2, 3 times. Then roll it up again starting from the side without the valves and as tightly as you can. Again, some air might be trapped in the Double V in the last few rolls, so just press on the deflate and inflate valves gently and push out as much air as possible. After, close the valves, fit it back into the stuff sack, push it all the way to the bottom, and roll the top down as much as possible. If you find that air gets stuck as you roll down the top, just lift the Double V off the ground and air will escape from the valve at the bottom of the stuff sack. Finally, buckle it up and you're good to go. This takes about 2 to 2.5 minutes. Both the Klymit Double V Uninsulated and the stuff sack together weigh 43.4 ounces, the stuff sack alone weighs 3.1 ounces, and the Double V won't fit on my scale, so doing the math it weighs just 40.3 ounces. The Klymit Double V Uninsulated sleeping pad has an R value of 1.6, so it's best to use this during the summer. Weighing about 2.7 pounds for the entire package, it's a bit too heavy to be ultralight, but you could probably take it on shorter backpacking trips if you could spare a bit more weight and space. You can also use it for camping, especially if you're short on space. Here's what the uninsulated Double V looks like inside a Coleman 2-person sundome tent. It doesn't fill up the entire tent, so there's some space for gear at the sides. It also doesn't reduce livable space at all, and I have plenty of space to sit up and also to crouch. I could inflate the Double V while inside the tent since there is enough space at the sides. I could also inflate it outside the tent and squish it into the tent while already inflated. Here's what the uninsulated Double V looks like inside a Coleman 4-person dome tent when placed horizontally. And here's the Double V placed vertically inside the tent. And here's the blue uninsulated Double V placed beside the red insulated Double V inside the same Coleman tent. There's a little bit of space left over for gear at the sides, even with both Double Vs inside this Coleman 4-person dome tent. I also have lots of livable space and I can almost stand up. The Klymit Double V Uninsulated sleeping pad is made of 75D polyester, which is on the thicker side for sleeping pads and feels durable for sure. Both the top surface and the bottom of the uninsulated Double V feel exactly the same and feels to be of equal thickness as well. So I suspect the entire sleeping pad, both top and bottom, is 75D polyester. The flat valves are nice and low profile, and I really like that there are separate valves for inflation and deflation. These flaps feel thick and rugged, and I never had any issues with leaking in the few weeks that I was using this. Also, the seams are good quality and air retention is very good. I slept on the uninsulated Double V with another person 3 nights in a row without having to top off any air at all. I love that the stuff sack is versatile enough to double as a pump and quickly inflates the uninsulated Double V in a couple minutes. The stuff sack feels like it's made of the same material as the Double V. It feels really durable even when I put a lot of pressure on it, and I like that it compacts the uninsulated Double V down as much as possible. The stuff sack even has a handle for easy carry and a hole at the bottom so you can push all the air out off the stuff sack. The roll top is a bit tight, but other than that, I think it's pretty ingenious. For pros, I found the Klymit Double V Uninsulated sleeping pad to be high quality from the entire pad and the separate inflation-deflation valves to the stuff sack. I've had this almost a year now and it's still holding up well with no leaks at all. It's also very easy to use. It inflates in about 2 minutes, deflates and packs up in 3 minutes, and I could make micro adjustments if I found it too firm. The uninsulated Double V is also portable. My most portable 2-person sleeping pad for sure. It's compact and it's not too much bigger than a 32-ounce Nalgene bottle. It's also pretty lightweight, and both the pad and the stuff sack weigh 43.4 ounces or 2.7 pounds. It's also extremely versatile. The pad itself is nicely sized and low profile so that it can fit into all 2-person tents, even ones that aren't tall. It's light enough for shorter backpacking trips, and you can also use it for camping. The stuff sack itself is also versatile. It acts as a pump and can inflate the Double V with or without airflow. If you found this helpful so far, please help me hit that like button. Thank you, and I really appreciate it. As for cons, the biggest one that I can think of is that it's not the most comfortable. It's decent for sure, but the V-shaped air chambers does take some getting used to, at least for me. But there are lots of reviews saying that the Double V is super comfortable, so maybe it's not a con at all. Overall, I feel that the pros of the uninsulated Double V greatly outweigh the cons. Who would I recommend this to? I guess people who are going on shorter backpacking trips and could spare a little extra weight and space for this. Also, if you're camping but short on space, this works great as well. I also recommend it for people who want just one pad for everything. The uninsulated Double V works fantastic because it can be used for backpacking, camping, traveling, and in all 2-person tents, even ones with lower peak heights. This is low profile enough to not eat into your livable space. To find out how the uninsulated Double V compares against my other 2-person camping mattresses, check out this video right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.